Bob Lazar, a name synonymous with extraterrestrial discourse, stands as a polarizing figure in the UFO community. His audacious claims about classified government projects and extraterrestrial technology have both intrigued and divided enthusiasts for decades. As Lazar breaks his long-held silence, anticipation swells, offering a renewed hope for clarity amid a cosmos of unanswered questions. The early whistleblower. In the late 1980s, a seemingly unassuming man named Bob Lazar emerged from the shadows with claims that would reverberate through the UFO community and beyond. Lazar alleged that he had been employed at a secretive government installation known as S4, located close to the infamous Area 51 near Groom Lake in Nevada. It was here, according to Lazar, that he worked on reverse engineering extraterrestrial technology.
My name's Bob Lazar. I'm known for working at a classified base known as S4 out in the Nevada desert near Area 51. And there, we reverse engineered alien spacecraft.
Lazar's initial claims were nothing short of sensational. He described 9 different spacecraft, asserting they were of extraterrestrial origin.
Actually 9 flying saucers, flying discs, that are out there of extraterrestrial origin.
One craft, which he referred to as the Sport model, was powered by a reactor that utilized an element which at that time was unknown to public scientific knowledge, element 115. This element, Lazar claimed, was capable of generating anti-gravity effects, allowing the spacecraft to achieve maneuvers that defied conventional physics. To add layers to his claims, Lazar discussed the compartmentalization of work at S4, suggesting that teams worked in silos, privy only to their specific project's details, making it hard to gain a full picture of the operations. This mode of operation was designed to ensure utmost secrecy. Lazar's narratives provided a semblance of structure and specificity that had often been missing from UFO accounts. Here was a man who not only claimed to have seen UFOs, but had allegedly worked on them. He offered technical details, specific locations, and even a timeline of events. His revelations fed into a growing public desire for transparency around what many believed were decades-long government secrets regarding extraterrestrial encounters. However, Lazar's declarations did not just instigate enthusiasm. With them came a tidal wave of skepticism. Critics quickly pointed out inconsistencies in his narrative, from his educational background to the very existence of certain places he mentioned. The physics community in particular raised eyebrows at the proposition of element 115 being used as fuel for interstellar travel, deeming it a near impossible feat given the element's properties understood at that time. But despite the criticisms, what Lazar managed to achieve was remarkable. He invigorated the UFO discourse, providing it with a new lexicon and a renewed vigor. Conversations now had focal points like Area 51 and Element 115 that even laymen could latch onto. Before Lazar, Area 51 was a little-known military base. After Lazar, it was entwined with alien folklore, prompting curious onlookers, journalists, and UFO enthusiasts to venture as close as they dared, hoping to catch a glimpse of the otherworldly. Furthermore, the nature of Lazar's whistleblowing led many to view him as a champion of truth, someone risking his well-being to expose potentially world-changing information. This image of a lone individual standing against a monolithic entity like the government struck a chord with many who had grown wary of official narratives. Over time, Lazar's story would be dissected, debated, and often derided, but its impact was undeniable. It laid groundwork, setting the stage for a plethora of whistleblowers who would come forward in subsequent years with their own tales of secret government projects and encounters with the unknown. The landscape of UFO discourse was irrevocably altered, no longer relegated to just shadowy tales and blurry photographs. It had found a voice, and that voice, for many, was Bob Lazar. S4 and Element 115. In the vast and secretive expanse near Groom Lake, Nevada, the S4 facility, as described by Bob Lazar, stands as a symbol of enigma and contention. According to Lazar, this hidden installation nestled adjacent to the more well-known Area 51 was the hub for some of the most clandestine activities involving extraterrestrial technologies. Lazar's descriptions of S4 painted a picture of a facility that was as much about preservation of secrecy as it was about scientific exploration. S4, in Lazar's narrative, was home to 9 distinct flying saucers, each boasting unique designs and functionalities. These crafts were not just for display or storage. Lazar claimed they were operational. He often detailed how they were stored in hangar bays camouflaged into the mountainside, designed to remain hidden from prying eyes, both on the ground and from above. This assertion, if true, indicated that whoever was behind S4 had intentions of not just reverse engineering these crafts, but possibly even testing and deploying them. But of all the revelations associated with S4, perhaps the most intriguing was the introduction of element 115 into the UFO discourse. Lazar claimed that this previously unknown element was the key to the propulsion systems of these extraterrestrial crafts. He asserted that when properly harnessed, element 115 could produce a gravitational field, which the spacecraft utilized for propulsion. This, he suggested, was how these crafts achieved their seemingly impossible maneuvers, bending the rules of known physics. Element 115, as described by Lazar, was not naturally occurring on Earth and was provided to the facility in batches for their experiments. The way Lazar explained it, the element was used in a reactor within the spacecraft to generate a gravity A wave. This wave was then amplified for propulsion, allowing the craft to lift off and travel with immense speed and agility. The intriguing aspect of this was that the craft did not move in the traditional sense of propulsion. Instead, it manipulated gravity to essentially pull its destination towards it, redefining motion as we understand it. The discussions about S4 and element 115 weren't just limited to the realms of UFO enthusiasts and conspiracy theorists. They penetrated deeper into popular culture and scientific circles. Lazar's detailed descriptions prompted a mixture of fascination and skepticism. To some, S4 represented a fortress of secrets where humanity's greatest discoveries were being made. To others, it was a construct of fiction, a tale woven from half-truths and imagination. The implications of Lazar's claims were monumental. If true, they suggested that the U.S. government, or some hidden faction within, had access to technology centuries, if not millennia, ahead of current human understanding. It proposed that humanity was not alone in the universe and that our earthly governments were in possession of tangible artifacts from beyond our world. However, the specifics of Lazar's account, the intricate workings of the alien crafts, the properties and applications of element 115, and the inner operations of S4 also became points of contention. For every individual who ardently believed in Lazar's narrative, there was another who dismissed it as fabrication. Still, regardless of where one stood in the debate, the tales of S4 and element 115 added new dimensions to discussions about extraterrestrial life and technology. They raised questions not just about what might be out there in the cosmos, but also about the lengths earthly powers might go to keep such discoveries under wraps. Lazar's narrative, intertwined with the enigmatic S4 and the perplexing element 115, ushered in a new era of curiosity, hope, and skepticism in the search for extraterrestrial truth. Criticisms and counterclaims. Every revelation, especially of the magnitude that Bob Lazar presented, inevitably invites scrutiny. The more audacious the claim, the more intense the investigation it undergoes. Lazar's assertions about S4, extraterrestrial crafts, and element 115 were no exception. Over the years, several criticisms and counterclaims emerged, challenging the veracity of Lazar's story. One of the foremost criticisms pertained to Lazar's personal history. When researchers and journalists attempted to verify Lazar's credentials, anomalies surfaced. Lazar claimed to have studied at both the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, and the California Institute of Technology, Caltech, but no records of his attendance could be found at either institution. In response, some of Lazar's supporters posited that his records might have been erased or altered to discredit him, a narrative that further entrenched the idea of a grand cover-up. However, skeptics pointed out that erasing all traces of someone's educational history, including memories of classmates and professors, would be an improbable feat. Another significant point of contention was the very existence of S4. While Area 51 is acknowledged as a real and operational military base, no concrete evidence of S4's existence as described by Lazar has been produced. Satellite imagery of the alleged location has not conclusively shown the hangar bays or facilities that Lazar described. Critics argue that if Lazar had genuinely worked at such a location, providing specific coordinates or irrefutable evidence should have been within his capabilities. The physics community had its reservations as well, especially concerning Lazar's claims about element 115's role in propulsion. The way Lazar described the manipulation of gravity using element 115 appeared to be in violation of known laws of physics. And when moscovium, the official name for element 115, was synthesized and studied, its properties didn't align with Lazar's descriptions. Its instability and short half-life seemed to rule out its use as a potent energy source for propulsion. Additionally, Lazar's depiction of the workings of the extraterrestrial crafts, specifically the generation of gravity A waves, was met with skepticism. Many physicists noted that Lazar's explanation lacked the depth and nuance one would expect from someone with advanced training in physics. The very concept of gravity A waves was unfamiliar and inconsistent with established scientific understanding. Regarding element 115, while the synthesized moscovium didn't match Lazar's descriptions, some suggested that the natural, stable isotope Lazar referred to had either not been discovered yet or was being kept under wraps. They argued that our understanding of elements and isotopes is continually evolving, and what seems improbable now might be accepted knowledge in the future. For many, the very fact that Lazar came forward risking personal and professional ruin added weight to his claims. They believed that no individual would willingly invite such scrutiny and backlash unless they were genuinely convinced of the truth of their assertions. The debate around Bob Lazar's revelations is emblematic of the broader discourse surrounding UFOs and extraterrestrial life. On one side are the skeptics, demanding empirical evidence and verifiable facts. On the other side are believers, often driven by a combination of evidence, intuition, and a deep-seated feeling that we are not alone in the universe. And somewhere in the middle are those open to possibilities, waiting for that irrefutable piece of evidence that might tilt the balance. Lazar's narrative, riddled with both compelling details and perplexing inconsistencies, will likely remain a contentious chapter in the annals of UFO history. The tug-of-war between his critics and defenders underscores the human yearning for answers, the desire to uncover the truth, and the lengths to which we'll go to either validate or debunk a narrative that challenges our understanding of reality. The power of media. In an age where information travels at the speed of light and narratives can be shaped and reshaped with every tweet, blog post, or television special, the media's role in propelling Bob Lazar's story into the global consciousness cannot be overstated. While Lazar's tales of extraterrestrial craft and secretive government bases were undeniably captivating in their own right, it was the media's magnifying lens that brought his claims out of the fringes and into mainstream discourse. Lazar's initial foray into the public eye was orchestrated by investigative journalist George Knapp. Knapp, an established figure in journalism with a reputation for thoroughness, provided a degree of legitimacy to Lazar's claims. Their televised interviews were pivotal in giving Lazar's story its first broad platform. Knapp's probing questions and Lazar's matter-of-fact responses created a dynamic that was both intriguing and accessible to the average viewer. The visual medium, with its ability to marry sound, imagery, and narrative, was perfectly suited to delve into the mysterious and the otherworldly. Lazar's descriptions of the S4 facility, the alien crafts, and the intricate mechanisms of element 115 were complemented by reconstructions, animations, and expert analyses. This blend of storytelling and visualization made the complex and the abstract palpable, allowing viewers to journey with Lazar into the heart of the enigma. Documentaries further amplified Lazar's narrative. These longer formats allowed for a deeper exploration of the subject matter, juxtaposing Lazar's claims with expert opinions, archival footage, and on-site investigations. Documentaries also introduced a broader spectrum of voices into the conversation, from staunch skeptics to fervent believers. This mosaic of perspectives, while sometimes discordant, provided a richer, more multifaceted understanding of the Lazar phenomenon. One such documentary that stood out was Bob Lazar, Area 51 and Flying Saucers, which delved not just into Lazar's claims, but also into the man himself, his motivations, fears, and the toll that his revelations took on his personal life. By humanizing Lazar, the documentary invited viewers to look beyond the sensational and consider the very real ramifications of whistleblowing. Furthermore, the age of the internet brought with it a democratization of discourse. Online forums, blogs, and social media platforms teemed with discussions, debates, and dissections of every facet of Lazar's story. Amateur sleuths, armchair physicists, and UFO enthusiasts from around the world could now share their insights, findings, and theories. This collective hive mind, unbounded by geography or institutional constraints, sometimes unearthed details or connections that traditional media overlooked. YouTube channels and podcasts dedicated to UFO research frequently featured Lazar's story, often with fresh takes or new information. Some sought to debunk his claims with methodical analysis, while others presented corroborative accounts or evidence that seemed to bolster his narrative. However, one cannot deny that without the media's involvement, Lazar's story might have remained a footnote, a whispered tale among a niche community. Instead, it became a global phenomenon, a touchstone in the UFO lore. It sparked curiosity, instigated debates, and inspired a new generation to look up at the stars with wonder and ask the age-old question, are we truly alone? The media's relationship with the Bob Lazar narrative is a testament to its influence in shaping collective consciousness. It underscores the profound impact that storytelling, when amplified by technology and broadcast to the world, can have on our understanding of reality, our beliefs, and our place in the cosmos. Scientific scrutiny. The realm of science, with its stringent principles of evidence-based inquiry, often finds itself at odds with claims that veer into the speculative or the unverifiable. Bob Lazar's assertions, particularly those related to element 115 and its purported properties, have provided fertile ground for such scrutiny. Element 115, as described by Lazar, was central to his narrative. He posited that this element was the cornerstone of the propulsion systems of the extraterrestrial craft he claimed to have worked on. According to Lazar, when properly harnessed, element 115 could generate a gravitational field, effectively allowing the spacecraft to warp space-time and achieve interstellar travel. However, when the scientific community began its examination of these claims, several issues arose. First and foremost was the very existence of element 115. During the time of Lazar's initial revelations, such an element had not been catalogued in the periodic table. It was only later, in 2003, that scientists were able to synthesize element 115, which was subsequently named moscovium. The properties of moscovium, as understood from laboratory observations, starkly contrasted with Lazar's descriptions. The synthesized element displayed a high degree of instability, possessing a half-life measured in milliseconds, meaning it decayed into other elements within a fraction of a second. This rapid decay rendered it unlikely as a stable energy source, let alone one capable of powering interstellar spacecraft. Furthermore, Lazar's portrayal of element 115's capacity to manipulate gravity raised eyebrows in the physics community. Gravity, as one of the four fundamental forces of nature, is notoriously difficult to manipulate. Despite extensive research in the field, humanity's understanding of gravity remains limited, and the idea that an external substance like element 115 could control or generate gravitational fields seemed to challenge established knowledge. It's worth noting that science, by its very nature, remains open to new discoveries. The history of scientific inquiry is replete with instances where once dismissed theories or ideas found validation through subsequent research. However, the burden of proof invariably lies with the claimant. For Lazar's assertions to gain scientific traction, they would need to be accompanied by empirical evidence, reproducible experiments, or verifiable observations. In the absence of such corroboration, his tales of Element 115's miraculous properties remained in the realm of the anecdotal. Many critics also highlighted the lack of peer-reviewed publications or collaborative verification related to Lazar's claims. Science, as a discipline, thrives on collaboration, debate, and peer review. Groundbreaking discoveries or theories are typically presented to the community at large, vetted by experts, and subjected to rigorous examination before they are accepted. Lazar's bypassing of these protocols further cast doubts over the veracity of his statements. While the allure of Lazar's narrative is undeniable, and while many fervently wish for his revelations to be true, the bridge between belief and scientific acceptance is built on empirical evidence. As of now, that bridge remains incomplete. The tantalizing tale of Element 115 and its incredible properties await the day when they can be validated or refuted, not through anecdote or assertion, but through the unerring lens of scientific inquiry. Government responses. Whenever claims of state secrets, classified projects, or covert operations arise, the eyes of the world invariably turn towards the government, seeking clarity, denial, or affirmation. Bob Lazar's allegations, with their direct implications on secret military bases and advanced technology, were no exception. Both the official and unofficial responses from various government agencies to Lazar's claims offer a window into the intricate dance between statecraft, secrecy, and the thirst for truth. Initially, there was a pronounced silence from government channels regarding Lazar's allegations. This absence of acknowledgement, while expected, only fueled further speculation among believers. They saw it as evidence of a deeper conspiracy or a tacit admission that Lazar's claims held water. However, for skeptics, this silence was interpreted as the government's unwillingness to dignify unfounded allegations with a response. The first inklings of an official stance emerged indirectly. When inquiries were made about Lazar's purported employment at Area 51, or the elusive S4, no records were found. Additionally, his claims of academic credentials from prestigious institutions like MIT and Caltech were also met with denials from these institutions. For some, these denials served as proof of a cover-up, with Lazar's records being deliberately expunged. For others, it cast doubt on the veracity of Lazar's entire narrative. Further into the unfolding of the Lazar saga, more direct government responses started to emerge. The U.S. Air Force, which operates the Nevada Test and Training Range where Area 51 is located, has always been tight-lipped about the facility's operations. In the wake of Lazar's claims, they maintained their stance that discussions of specific operations and projects at Area 51 were classified and would not be publicly disclosed. This stance, while standard protocol, only further ignited the flames of speculation. Unofficial responses, often more candid and sometimes off the record, provided a slightly different perspective. Some former employees and contractors associated with Area 51, while not directly corroborating Lazar's specific claims, did allude to the existence of highly classified and advanced projects at the facility. Their testimonies suggested a culture of extreme secrecy and compartmentalization, where even individuals working at the site might not be fully aware of all ongoing projects. Another noteworthy moment came when, after years of avoiding acknowledgement, the CIA officially recognized the existence of Area 51 in 2013, though not necessarily in response to Lazar's claims. This acknowledgement, found within a declassified report on the U-2 spy plane program, gave no credence to extraterrestrial technologies, but confirmed that the base was used for testing reconnaissance aircraft. In the maze of responses, denials, acknowledgments, and silences, a clear picture remains elusive. Lazar's claims continue to oscillate between the realms of possibility and skepticism, with government responses adding layers of intrigue to the narrative. Whether seen as standard protocol, deliberate obfuscation, or candid disclosure, these responses serve as a reminder of the intricate relationship between government secrecy, public curiosity, and the quest for truth in an age of mysteries. Personal ramifications for Lazar. Choosing to come forward with claims that challenge established narratives, especially when they touch on matters of national security, can exact a hefty personal toll. Bob Lazar's decision to publicize his experiences at Area 51 and his subsequent life provide a vivid testament to the complexities of being a whistleblower in a domain replete with skepticism, intrigue, and potential danger. Almost immediately after his identity was revealed, Lazar found himself thrust into the harsh glare of the spotlight. With the world's eyes on him, every facet of his life came under scrutiny. From his academic credentials and professional background to his personal relationships and financial standing, there seemed to be no aspect of his life that remained untouched. The scrutiny wasn't limited to public curiosity alone. Lazar repeatedly claimed that he had been threatened and that attempts were made to erase all official records of his existence. He spoke of being followed, monitored, and intimidated. These assertions, while hard to independently verify, painted a portrait of a man living on the edge, always looking over his shoulder, wary of unseen threats lurking in the shadows. Beyond potential threats, Lazar's personal relationships bore the brunt of his revelations. The strain of being a central figure in one of the most debated UFO stories of the age took a toll on his family life. Relationships strained and some even fractured under the weight of the public attention and the associated pressures. Trust became a premium, and isolation, whether self-imposed or circumstantial, became a recurring theme in his life. His professional life was no less affected. With his academic credentials under question and his claims drawing skepticism from mainstream scientific and engineering communities, traditional employment opportunities within his field of expertise became limited. Lazar, however, adapted to this new reality. He ventured into scientific supply businesses, capitalizing on his newfound fame and the associated interest in exotic materials and technologies. Yet the shadow of his Area 51 claims never truly receded, always forming a backdrop to any professional endeavor he undertook. Financially, the journey was a roller coaster. While his story undoubtedly brought opportunities, like paid interviews, documentary deals, and speaking engagements, it also came with legal battles, business challenges, and the costs associated with maintaining a certain degree of security and privacy. Lazar's financial standing, much like other facets of his life post-revelation, became a juxtaposition of gains and losses. The psychological ramifications of being at the center of such a maelstrom cannot be underestimated. While Lazar always maintained a relatively calm and matter-of-fact demeanor in his public appearances, one can only speculate about the inner turmoil, the second-guessing, and the moments of doubt he might have experienced. The weight of holding on to a narrative, especially one so hotly contested, would challenge the fortitude of any individual. Another noteworthy aspect of Lazar's post-revelation journey was his gradual retreat from the limelight. After the initial flurry of interviews, documentaries, and public appearances, Lazar became increasingly reclusive. While he never recanted his claims, he seemed less inclined to keep pushing them into the public discourse. Instead, he opted for a quieter life, away from the relentless gaze of both believers and skeptics. Bob Lazar's life, post his claims about Area 51 and extraterrestrial technology, serves as a poignant narrative about the costs and consequences of coming forward with extraordinary claims. It's a tale of resilience in the face of adversity, adaptation in the face of challenge, and the enduring human spirit's quest for truth, understanding, and acceptance in an often skeptical and uncertain world.